Good afternoon to my entire Jeunesse Australasia family, and welcome to today's focus webinar on building resilience. Now, when we look at the meaning of the word resilience, it means the capacity to recover quickly from difficulty. Now, I think we can all agree now, more than ever, resilience is important for several reasons. Resilience enables us to develop mechanisms for protection against experiences which are overwhelming. It helps us maintain balance in our lives during difficult or stressful periods. Now, joining me today to take you through how to build resilience is Gillian Fish. Gillian is a world-renowned author who has recently launched her book titled Resilience, Mind, Body and Soul. Gillian is also the founder of 6am Agency and is a creative communication leader with a passion for building business stemming from over 30 years in publishing and agency ownership. Jill has a deep specialisation in the wellbeing and good living sectors, including complementary medicine, fitness, and food and beverages. Jill presents at industry conferences all over the world, and I have the incredible pleasure of working with Jill now for over 6 years. She is knowledgeable, incredibly talented, and so humble, and it is an honor to have her with us today. Thank you for being with us today, Jill.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and thank you for those very kind words. It is an honor to work with you, but it's also an honor to be talking with you and your team today of distributors across Australia. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What I'm going to do today is take you through, as Rachel said, findings and insights around how to build resilience during this time. And who knows more about building resilience than yourselves in the direct selling industry? For after all, the entire industry, as it has globally, has been turned on its head, thrown into this by the global pandemic, which hit us all around March in 2020. During this time, I've had the most incredible opportunity to talk with some of the world leaders in health, beauty, and well-being about their insights into what it takes to be resilient, to survive and thrive. So the question we ask is, how did I stumble across this opportunity and how did I bring it to life? Through the years, I've had the very, very good fortune in my business of working with some of the world's leading experts in this space. And what I want to do is cast your mind back to March 23, when we all went into lockdown. I had my team facing me, a group of lovely, brilliant millennials who'd never been through anything like this. We've lived through the GFC and worked through it and so forth. None of us, though, have all been thrown offsite. And I said to myself, Jill, what is it that you need to do during this time in order to lead your team, in order to survive and thrive? And what came to me was that I needed to unlock what it means to be strong, to be resilient. And so the idea was born. Through the years that I built these relationships with all of these experts, I decided to pick up the phone and interview them. This was end of March, beginning of April, 10 in America, 3 in Europe, and the balance in Australia. Cardiologists, neurosurgeons, psychologists, chiropractors, and more to get their point of view. And thus my book about resilience, body, mind, and soul was born. And all of us agreed that this was the great reset. In fact, this was a moment of redefining of who we are as people, as a planet, if we looked at it in a positive way. And what I'm going to share with you today are the top 10 themes that every single one of the people that I interviewed spoke about without fail in every one of the interviews. And we are going to be able to take that and learn from that, take tiny pieces of information and inspiration to take us forward during this time. So the question I asked was, why do some people survive and even thrive in the face of adversity? So one of the quotes that kept on recurring throughout several of the interviews was, which were quoted by the people that I interviewed, was that of Viktor Frankl. And I urge you to write this down. Read a book called Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor, And he wrote about between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And that's really profound, right? That tells us that whatever comes at us, we are able to control, we are able to redefine, we are able to reframe in our response, either if we're facing a traumatic situation or if we're seeing it as an opportunity. Everything, how we respond, is in our control. What I'm going to do now is play you an interview from Dr. Joseph Maroon, who's in the first chapter of my book. And interestingly enough, if you look on my LinkedIn, Gillian Fish, you'll be able to see that Dr. Maroon was awarded in the last 7 or 8 weeks a Courage Award, that one of the highest awards in medicine in the United States, for leading through this time with courage. Dr. Maroon is an 80-something-year-old neurosurgeon. He still goes into the operating theater. He doesn't operate himself. He is the global neurosurgeon for the WWE, the wrestlers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is one of the biggest clubs in the United States. They play in the Super Bowl, and he's a triathlete. So somebody we need to learn from. What I'd like to do now is play this recording for you. And after that, I'll give you the top 10 themes. Have a listen.
What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to withstand and actually recover from adversity. So any discussion of resilience must include that of adversity. So what is the effect of adversity on our bodies and on our minds, on our brains? So there's a Hungarian-Canadian physiologist, Hans Selye, several decades ago, really outlined very well the 4 stages of stress. He actually coined the word stress in terms of what happens to our bodies under adversity. And there are 3 stages. Number 1, there's an alarm reaction, fight or flight. After that, there's the adaptation and the development of resilience. If the stress continues unremittingly, there is then exhaustion and finally death. So concurrently, there's also a hormonal release of cortisol through our hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, where the cortisol suppresses our immune system and makes us even more susceptible to the effects of stress, infections, and in this case, say, our pandemic virus that's now affecting the world. So what's the secret to resilience? And I must say that I've written a book entitled Square One, A Simple Guide to a Balanced Life, in which I think, very well outline the secret to balance, the secret to resilience, and really the very basic components that one must integrate into their lives on a daily basis for resilience and survival. It includes 4 factors. Sometimes they're referred to as 4 epigenetic factors. Number 1 is the appropriate diet. Number 2 is regular exercise. Number 3 is the avoidance of environmental toxins, excessive alcohol, tobacco, water, air pollution. And very importantly, number 4 is the control of stress in our lives. How is that done? Meditation, spirituality, religion, strong family units. All of these are ways to control stress. People who live the longest, the so-called centenarians in various parts of the world, all have very strong family units as a key to overcoming and dealing with stress. So when we're talking about resilience, we're talking about adversity. How do we ever overcome adversity? What are the consequences of adversity? And the secret to a balanced life is in Square One.
So that's Dr. Maroon's take on how to build resilience and how to counter adversity and actually evolve until we thrive. A quote from Sabina Reid, who's one of Australia's top psychologists, sums it up well, and Rachel really spoke about this in her introduction, that resilience is our capacity to cope and grow in the face of adversity. So what we're going to do now is look at the top 10 themes. Have a pen and paper with you. I'm going to give you the themes and then give you a couple of tips about how to bring it to life. So resoundingly throughout all of the interviews, number one, the top theme was that if we are able to find our purpose, then we are able to really start to build that resilience. And what does that mean? Essentially, during this time, we've had to peel back the layers. We've had time to do that, to think about what it is that really matters to us. If we have been thinking about facing our mortality, for let's face it, there's been a virus lurking around, and so many of us have had losses during this time, is if we think about what it means to really live, what we want to contribute to the world, and what our legacy should be. How do we want to be remembered at the end of our life? We think about that. We think about the journey that we need to go on to unlock that purpose. That's where we really start to build our resilience. So many of us like to serve others. We like to help our neighbors, or we like to help older people or those who are disadvantaged. So for many of us, that is what our purpose is to make life better for others. So the question we ask is, what is our purpose? And what are we here for? And with that, we'll be able to build our resilience. The next theme was focusing on the power of now. And never has it been more blatant and clear to us that prior to this pandemic commencing in March, we were running busy, doing 1,000 things, going from meeting to meeting, on weekends having countless appointments and engagements with our children and our friends. But actually what we need to do is, in order to build strength, we need to cut all of that down. And we really need to focus on the importance of now. So now, in the moment, right now, while I'm talking to you, what are you concentrating on? What are you thinking about? Try and stop thinking about needing to fetch the children after school, or about the next meeting, or an email that you need to send. If we focus on the present, if we are present, whenever we connect with people, when we say good morning, when we are in meetings, when we are sitting at the dinner table with our children, focus on anchoring and really connecting, and that gives us strength. So what are the 3 things that we need to do to achieve that? I'll take you through them now. All of those I interviewed firstly spoke about the importance of understanding and realizing how we are breathing. Are we breathing deeply or shallowly? Can we anchor our breathing? Can we make it consistent? When we walk into a meeting, sit down, think about how we breathe. Secondly, it's about our posture. How are we sitting now? If you feel you're sitting a little bit slouched, sit up, push your back up. Make sure that you're anchored in the present so you can harness the moment. It gives us strength, possibility, positivity. When we're standing, talking to somebody, are our arms closed? Are we connected with them physically? Are we standing straight? And that gives us strength. And the third thing they all spoke about was what I mentioned earlier, the need to control our thoughts. Stop those racing thoughts. Anchor in the now. Be present in the moment. Make the most of that moment and really connect with real intent. And that then gives us strength, which builds resilience. Theme number 3 was about learning to accept impermanence. And this for me is critical. If there's 1 out of 10 of these themes that I would say, learn to make this work for you, it's about knowing that the only thing in life that is constant is change. Think about it, 7 or 8 months ago, who would ever have thought that all of us, the entire globe, would have been thrown into lockdown, away from our work, away from our families, disconnected, no travel. And yes, we have survived. Some of us have found it more difficult and more traumatic than others, but we have survived. And that's the important thing. And what is that? That's about a thought or a notion called neuroplasticity. Our brains, if we allow them to, have the ability to mold and flow with what is happening and adapt. And the more we know we need to adapt and we need to accept that things are going to change all the time and keep evolving, the less traumatic it is, the stronger we are, and the easier it is for us to lean into it. I have an analogy that I draw. Life is like the flow of water in a river, because the only time that it ends is when it gets to the sea. And that for us is when we pass away. But along that river, it may be deep, it may be high, it may be low, it may be gentle, rapids, waterfalls, or gently amongst the trees with tiny pebbles, not jagged rocks. But it keeps on flowing, and that's what we need to do. We need to know that we just got to keep on flowing no matter what is thrown at us, and we are then adaptable, and that gives us deep strength. Number 4 is valuing those forgotten moments. And many of those I interviewed said to me, Jill, my biggest regret until now is that I haven't spent enough time with my children. I come home late from work, I'm always in the practice, or I'm lecturing, etc. But what this time has given me, even though many of them have been on the front line, what this time has given me and shown me is that there are those tiny micro moments which really matter. Sitting at the dinner table with my children, talking to them, being present. That's a ritual I can do every day now. Or one of them said to me, when was the last time that you stepped outside and looked at the stars? Isn't that a beautiful thought? It's for free. It's so easy just to stand there and look at us, because after all, we are in this big, great universe. Or when was the last time that we walked in a park, listened to the wind in the trees, just stopped, stood? As Dr. Ali Walker said, abundance comes from moments and not things. And if we take these micro moments and turn them into little rituals, they become bigger waves, and all of those become part of the fabric of our daily life. And from there, we become stronger. Number 5 is to cultivate gratitude and express appreciation. There are multiple studies and literature around the importance of gratitude in our life for building strength. And actually, it's one of the key pillars, it's known to be one of the key pillars of resilience. There's a famous doctor, Dr. Martin Seligman, who was quoted by Dr. Munir and many others in my book, who speaks about the importance of gratitude and how gratitude can actually, in the brain, reframe negative thoughts, negative actions, negative experiences in terms of something that is enlightening. Dr. Yeo said to me, Jill, every single morning I wake up and I say to myself, I'm grateful to be alive, to breathe again, to love again, to work with loved ones, to work with people that you care about, to do better in the world. So she wakes up with that, and she says at the end of every day, I have a gratitude journal, and I write down 3 things that I'm so deeply grateful for. So therein lies an opportunity to really express gratitude. I talk about it as finding the joy in every moment. And that's kind of my own payoff line or my own mantra. I have cards that says from the desk of Gillian Fish, and it says, find the joy. So here's the thing. We need to be grateful for what we have. And my God, are we really well off in this country compared to other people? And yes, life is tough for many. Many have lost their jobs. Many don't have food on their table, but therein lies the opportunity for those of us who are more resilient and stronger and better off to help others. Number 6 is build community. And who better than Australians to show others how to build community? Why do I say that? If you look at Australia during major crises, the Boxing Day tsunami, the bushfires, look how we pull together. We raise money, we give our clothes. En masse, you see queues of people going into helping others. Australians know how to do it best. Here's the thing. A community does not have to be 100 people, 50 people. It can be 3 people. But it's about cultivating that small group, no matter how big or small, to really help and support not only each other, but then go out to support others. For it is always about helping others. I remember Gerald Quigley in the interview, which was towards the end of April. It was around Schizophrenia Awareness Week. He was deeply concerned, and he said to me, Jill, people who live with schizophrenia struggle when they're on their own. They need to be connected with others. What is going to happen to them? They've gone into lockdown. He's also a senior, and he spoke about how he was concerned about his colleagues and his friends who are of an older age, in their 70s, who are isolated in lockdown. And we know during this time, many of you are in lockdown in Melbourne again. So it's very difficult, but how do we harness community? How do we reach out and help others? Number 7 is the importance of being of service to others. And remember, I was interviewing healthcare practitioners, medical practitioners. And if we think about it, if you go in to see your doctor, you say, hello, doctor, how are you, etc. And then he looks or she looks after you. But very rarely do they need anything in return. And here's the thing. They said to me, Jill, it is about being of service to others, but the secret is this, not expecting anything in return. And that itself is very gratifying. It's gratifying to give somebody something, to help somebody, to help them on their way and not expect anything in return. And that is what builds resilience. Theme number 8 is live only with what you need. Dr. Anish Bajaj, a doctor in New York, said to me, Jill, essentialism is about getting to grips with what we truly do and don't need. And he said, now in this time of great reset, it's a time to reconsider 3 things. Number 1, what do we do with our time? Number 2, what do we consume? What do we buy and what do we need? And number 3 is about our relationships. Who do we have in our life? What do we do about being overwhelmed with so many people and things? And he said, now's the time to think very carefully. What appointments do we really need to make? How much time are we spending on the things that matter? Who do we really want to be with? Who uplifts us? Who fills us? Who helps us make us grow and think differently and expand? And then the 3rd thing is around consumerism. And we are all in the business of selling products. And yes, we need that. We need to buy the things that we need. But how much do we need? How much clutter do we have? In our homes, look in your homes tonight and say to yourself, is there one thing that I can discard and maybe send it so somebody else can use it? The recycling and the reusable economy. So we can help others, but also declutter so we have space to build our resilience. Number 9 is the need to connect deeply with the environment. And resoundingly, whether I was speaking to a medical expert or somebody in environmental health, it was about this deep connection between planet and people and how critical it is that we align with the planet. We take care of the planet. We are more respectful. For that itself will empower us with good human health and well-being. Somebody said to me, Dr. Andy Monk said to me, Jill, remember that this virus, this pandemic actually started with a virus, with a bat in a cave that was meddled with mankind, right? It came into the metro areas. And what we think is that we are masters of the universe, but actually we're not. Mother Nature is stronger and more powerful than us. What we are citizens of the universe. And as citizens, we have to have respect for each other, the way we connect, the way we relate as people. And that is exactly the same as what we need to do with the environment. How do we treat it? Are we disdainful, disregarding, don't care? No, we need to make sure that both environment and human health and well-being go hand in hand. And last but not least is looking at taking ownership of our thoughts. And I've mentioned it a few times now. Specifically, I spoke about Viktor Frankl, who was quoted repeatedly through the interviews, the Holocaust survivor, who was able to take a deeply catastrophic situation. And our situation has been catastrophic for many who've lost their businesses, many who've lost their lives, and so forth. And to reframe that by controlling our thoughts. Dr. Bajaj said something brilliant. Your thoughts are alive, and you have the opportunity to mold them, reframe them. If we don't want to be negative, we don't have to. If we want to lean into possibility and opportunity now, we can. So, as I said before, some people have seen this as a trauma. Some have seen it as an opportunity to make changes in our life. I saw it as an outstanding opportunity to really unpack something and take something to the people around resilience. And that's why I'm deeply grateful to share that with you all today. So that's why I wrote a book. So here's the thing. These are the top 10 themes then, to summarize. Number one is find your purpose. Say to yourself, if I were to pass away, what do I want my legacy to be? Do I want to be remembered as the hardest working person? Or do I want to be remembered for somebody who really helped others or helped others unlock potential? What is it that I want to be remembered for? Secondly is discovering the power of now. Be present in the moment. Anchor yourself. Think of your breathing, your posture, and your thoughts. Accept impermanence and challenge as the norm. That neuroplasticity, our ability of our brains to evolve and flow like water over the rocks. Value micro moments. Get that ritual back in your life, be it eating dinner with your children, or looking at the stars every night, or going for a walk, or reading a book, or writing a gratitude journal. Cultivate gratitude, because gratitude builds resilience. If we are grateful rather than disdainful, grateful for what we have. If we have a job, we have our good health, we have good friends, count those things which we should be grateful for and think about those. Let the negativity go. Find community. Find a tribe. Join a tribe. Build a tribe and help each other through this time. But importantly, for those of us who are a little bit more resilient than others, help others, which is serving others, but serve others without expecting anything in return. Live only with what we need. Think about essentialism. What is one thing that you can take to Vinnie's tomorrow to give to somebody else who's in need, but to declutter your life so you'll have space to build that strength? Think about who fills you up and who depletes you. And lastly, think about how you spend your time. Busy, busy, busy is the order of the past. Pace is a different thing, and yes, pace is important. Connect with the environment. Make sure that we are as mindful and respectful for the environment as we are for others, for our colleagues, for our people, and take ownership of our thoughts. Make sure that you know that we can control our thoughts. If we have a negative experience, a traumatic experience, instead of lambasting that or blaming somebody else or knocking them, rather say, how can I reframe that? How can I learn from this? How can I do something different, which is better than for others? So game-changing actions now from the lovely Dr. Ali Walker. She said to me, Jill, this is my resilience GPS. She says, I have gratitude. Be thankful for what I have and use energy to focus on others. She said, have perspective. Realize what's important. Place your attention on what you can do, not what you can't do. And surrender. Most of what happens to us in our external environment is out of our control. What we can control is our inner response to our environment, and that is absolutely key. A couple more tips which I'd like to share with you. Seek a mentor. Get connected, particularly for our younger folk who are working through this time during a new era of social media, always on 24/7 news, finding it frightening, overwhelmed, not knowing how to traverse this time. Help them, help others. Take care of yourself. And I'm very guilty of this. I sometimes don't take enough care of myself. I know that it can be quite difficult, particularly when you're running a business like all of you are. The need is on to build, grow, and so forth. But we must breathe more. Even if we sit down in a meeting, breathe before we get started. Sleep better. Sleep is absolutely critical because what happens in sleep is our body naturally detoxifies. The brain shuts down and it detoxifies and lets all the toxins get excreted. If we don't, it's a buildup of toxicity. Eat cleaner. Try to eat healthier. And who better than you at Jeunesse, Australasia, who know you've got the most outstanding health products that help with health and wellness that you can share with others. And move often. Try not to sit behind a desk all the time. Try to get out there. It is also difficult when we are working long hours, but we must make the effort. Set goals and act. The point is, if you don't act on a goal, it never was a goal that was achieved. Make sure that you set micro goals. Wake up in the morning and say, what do I want to be today? How do I want to show up? What do I want to achieve? How do I want to relate? And stay positive, even in the face of adversity, because time will pass and we will get through this. We are not alone. No one is ever alone. There are always people to help. Have the courage to put up your hand and say, I need help. But the other of us who are more resilient need to also listen and hear better and look and help others and connect and find where the problem is. Be deliberate about learning new things about yourself. And I can't stress this enough. All of the people that I spoke to read daily. Write this down. The Daily Stoic, www.dailystoic.com. The most brilliant newsletter. I read it religiously every day. From the Stoics, who are the Roman emperors, who really are the fathers of modern resilience and modern way of living in a very fine way, in a very balanced way. Have a read of that. Go out and learn about something new for your craft at work, or how something can help you be a better presenter, or to convert better, or to have a more spiritual being. Embrace the notion that life is not a straight line. Remember what I've said, the only thing that is constant in life is change. And if we as leaders can help our people understand that, then we can better adapt. Maintain perspective. What really matters? What do we really need to urge for and drive for? And what do we need to push for? Or what do we just say to ourselves, really, this is what I want to focus on. Is this really so bad? Look for new opportunities, be it in business, be it in life, be it in friendship, learning with colleagues and so forth. Help others. I can't express this enough. What we need to do is give of our time selflessly to help others in need. Live to learn, keep learning. Learn from experiences. What have we taken from this experience about ourselves, about our reaction, about what we can do better, about how we can relate better? Find laughter. I love laughter. Even in the most challenging time, we have to make lightness of the time. We've got to obviously not to be detrimental to others. What we've got to do is be uplifting, bold. When we are with our team members, when we're with our family, find the lightness, of course, when it's appropriate, and never, ever give up. As Dr. James Wilson, who is the founder of the terminology adrenal fatigue, the 21st century stress syndrome, he wrote a book years ago on this, about 15 or 20 years ago. Have a look at him, some great learnings on life. He said to me, Jill, it's not just finding joy in challenging times. It's about finding joy in life. And how much better is that if we look at things, if we frame it in a positive way that actually helps us build our resilience. So what I'd like to do now is thank you for your time. I know many of us are under pressure, some more than others. And what I urge you to do is to think about these top 10 themes and say to yourself, how can I take even 1, 2, or 3 of these and put them into practice in order to make my life and the life of others better, stronger, more resilient so that we survive and thrive? Thank you very much for your time. Rachel, back to you.
Jill, those themes are powerful. You know, I love that, you know, the common denominator that I picked up on from your discussions with all of those doctors was, you know, the concept of self-care, whether that's eating better, sleeping better, you know, taking time out, connecting with the now, you know, that is so important. And I think, you know, for a lot of people, that's a big thing that they realize during this time, and serving others. You know, it's here at Jeunesse, that is the common theme that we really focus on is others, and take ownership of your thoughts is really powerful. And that takes me back to our recent expo that we've just, where we have Tony Robbins. And one of the most powerful things I took from that talk was all begins with your state of mind. You are the only person that has the ability to change that. And you know, the whole all of this was very similar. Absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to read the book. I'm really looking forward to it. So, Jill, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. It was an amazing presentation. And as Jill said, you know, look at implementing these into your daily life, and look at the power that implementing these themes can have for you and your business. Thank you,
Yes.
Jill, and thank you to each and every one of you watching.
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you to you all. Stay well and stay strong.